You're
is
doing
that,
it.
that's what you want me to do?
Yes, you're doing it again. I caught you that time. You started it. I saw it. You're getting. Where we have a hour conversation about sports before we start the podcast. What we should do is start the Zoom next week. Start the Zoom call whenever we start it, because we're often late or not on time, or one of us is arguing with the other. Start the Zoom call and then edit it like a professional.
Yeah, I don't have time to do that. I'm sitting here with 827 photos to go through. I've gone through maybe half of them of the Barracuda's media day, and I'm trying to get this done. I wanted to get it done by the end of the month, but it's not going to happen because I have to go through every single photo. And originally I was going through and being like really picky with what photos I was using. And
Yeah.
the girls were coming out with like 7 photos of like 20 that had been taken of them. And I'm like, well, that's a bit dumb. So I had to go back on the 7 other girls that I had already edited and do more, because they should be able to have more selection than one photo of every pose that they did for media day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've only completed 9 of them now.
Well, that's progress.
Yeah.
I've seen 27 people this week.
It's good.
Yep. It's, I mean, more than I normally do. But yeah.
Desperate times.
Desperate times, lots of kids. Lots of
And I've
fun.
also been taking care of my mum.
Are we going to have an argument of who does more?
No,
Okay.
we don't need to have an argument. All we're saying is that we're both very busy.
Yes.
And that's why I don't have time to edit things.
No.
Because I'm editing other things that I get paid to edit for. Right. Welcome to Better Luck next week. We always need better luck next week. Gavin had a bad week, so he needs better luck.
Yeah, I need a. Oh.
Go have a pint when we're done.
Oh, yeah.
We'll start with just a couple of news and notes. McLaren's launching their car on February 15th.
Woohoo!
Whoop-de hooray.
Yes.
It'll be fun because McLaren's, one of,
McLaren's
if not,
actually be different.
well, yeah, that's what I was going to say, is that they're the only car that can actually be different.
Yeah, it's also going to be the start of the meme year for McLaren, which is going to be Daniel Ricciardo and Lando Norris operating in the same kind of thing. Because all I can see is like both of them walking out, Daniel stepping back a bit and just like tripping Lando over. Some kind of, messing around. Like they both said they're going to be serious when they're on the track, but they're going to have a bit of fun off the track.
Yeah.
Which I'm very much looking forward to, because I think the two of them will basically be children.
Well, and you need a bit more of that, I think, in Formula One. Everybody's very serious, and there's been so much infighting between so many teams that it'll just be nice to have a team that actually gets along.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
And doesn't fake it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I'm not going to say that Valtteri Bottas and Lewis Hamilton hate each other, but they're not best of friends.
I don't think they're getting on too well. I don't think they're on each other's Christmas card lists.
Probably not.
No.
Anyway, that's happening. It's going to be fun. Hooray. It's the off season. I have to clarify about, we had a big discussion about ball size last week. And I mean, this is the whole point of the podcast, is for us to be wrong.
Yeah.
And what I learned is that, so for the longest time, CFL footballs were made by Spalding, which is now more known for making baseball gloves and baseballs. So they kind of transitioned more so into baseball. So Wilson took over. Wilson also does baseball gloves and, leather workings, but they do CFL footballs. I think Wilson does NFL footballs as well, but I don't remember whose.
They do, because the football I have has Wilson's.
Is Wilson. Now, I don't know how old it is. I think it's on the shelf behind you there, actually.
You know where shit is in my house, and I don't even fucking know. Like, I gotta watch out because I'm not. I haven't chosen.
Because I could see it. Yeah, it says Wilson on it. Now, I don't know how old that football is, but it does say Wilson. So when Wilson took over CFL footballs as well in 1995, they phased out the ball being bigger than the NFL football. And actually, since 2018, officially, they've actually been the same size. So to me, they've always looked bigger, and that's because of the stripes. But I mean, I've held both, and I have felt that a CFL football was a little heavier. So I don't know if they use a different type of leather or not. And I'm probably going to be wrong about this again, because again, I'm just saying things. But here we are on this podcast. That's where we say things. I do bring up the CFL though, because free agent frenzy has been going on for a while in the CFL. And a couple days ago, I think yesterday actually, the Hamilton Tiger Cats re-signed their franchise quarterback, Jeremiah Masoli.
Good.
And it was actually really funny because the day before he signed, the CFL had this big free agency video that came out that was about Masoli's the number one touted free agent. Where's he going to go? Is he going to stay in Hamilton or not? The next day he signs in Hamilton. I was like, lol. They put all that effort into making this video, and the next day he signed. I was like, oh, that sucks for that guy that made the video, which was really cool. So props to the editor that put that together. And I'm sorry that your work was relevant for a day. That sucks.
Annoying at best, isn't it?
Yeah, a bit, right? But there we go. And the CFL's otherwise moving on. We did have an announcement from the commissioner as well, basically saying that they have all intentions of playing. And I think they have to. You know, they canceled last season and lost a lot of money, and they didn't handle it very well because they were basically in limbo up until September with the players. And, you know, a lot of these guys are from the States, and they were sitting here waiting whether to sort out whether or not they needed to come to Canada. Some of them did come to Canada anyways, and were then told, oh, sorry, we're not playing. And it's like, well, great. I'm here. I've spent the money to be here, and now I'm not playing, and I'm not making any money. So it was a bit shit the way they handled it last year. I think they have to play no matter what. I think if they can only play in a bubble, they have to do it, even if they're going to end up losing a bit of money from it. I think they have to do it because going 2 years without CFL football is going to really,
pretty much.
Yeah, it's going to really hurt its relevancy in Canada, especially when the fan base is not very young. The CFL fan base is not very young because, you know, people who have younger generations of kids, so like Gen Zs, basically, I'm finding their parents are not CFL fans. And their parents are in their, you know, 40s to 50s. So the CFL fan base is the odd folk in their 20s, like me, because they have parents who are in their 60s.
Yeah, it's kind of your parents are the ones that initially put you in the telly. You go, hey, Jimmy, watch this.
Right.
And if your parents aren't doing that, then... Sorry, I just spilled something.
I was going to say, what's going on?
Yeah.
What did you spill?
Well, technically I didn't spill anything. This is unrelated to this podcast, but I do a lot of resin 3D printing. And for a while I was printing things hollow. But what the machine didn't tell me, and no one told me, was that every now and again, it'll print the resin inside, but trap resin inside a cavity. And you put the entire thing together and you won't feel it, and then the resin will pool and ferment, and then at a certain point it cracks and spews all the thing out. So I can actually show you, it's kind of interesting. Catwoman's arse has split open. Releasing resin everywhere.
Oh my god! What a sentence.
So yeah, I'll be dealing with that at some point this weekend.
She's
Not right now.
she's releasing resin.
Yeah. Yeah, every now and again it just splits and then there's resin everywhere.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So anyways, yes, the CFL has to figure out how they can play, whether or not it involves fans. And they'll have to scrounge up a lot of sponsorship, which wouldn't be that difficult, I don't think, because you already have a TV deal in place with TSN.
Yeah,
so basically you just plaster more ads. You do what the NHL's already done. The NHL removed the logos on the helmets and replaced them with the main sponsor of the team. So I don't know if you ended up noticing that, but like for the Maple Leafs, they've got Scotiabank's logo on their helmet. For I think Calgary has Scotiabank on their helmet as well. Montreal has Bell because they're the main sponsor of Montreal, right? So it's a thought that the CFL could look into. Like you're not going to remove, because on football helmets the logo is the focus, right? It's not a little bit of the helmet. It's the main focus. But you could put ads on the backs of the helmet.
Yeah, right? You could put ads on the back of the helmet. You could put it anywhere. The only thing for me is that coming out of a global pandemic, sponsorship is often something when people have money.
Well, and it's gonna come from big companies that already have money.
Yeah. So you'll be okay.
Right. Okay. You gotta be reaching out to guys like Canadian Tire, Budweiser, Molson. If they're not sponsoring you already.
Yeah.
Right. So
I'm sure the sponsorship will come. That's not an issue. It'll be okay.
I think so. So that's that. Now for the NFL football course. A couple of stories, I guess, before we get into the big game this Sunday.
Yep.
So Deshaun Watson has requested a trade, despite the fact that they hired a new head coach. So what?
The Super Bowl isn't this Sunday.
Oh, it's next Sunday, right? Yeah. Because they have this random week off for no reason.
Yeah, they have a bye week, which is normally when the Pro Bowl goes on, but they're not doing a Pro Bowl, which I don't think anyone cares about.
No.
The Pro Bowl is at the wrong time.
Yeah. And we've had this discussion before, and that's why I thought the Super Bowl was next weekend or this weekend.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna have like nothing to talk about next week. Do we even need to do a Super Bowl preview then if it's not on?
I mean, we can discuss the games that happened.
Yes, we'll discuss the game. Okay, Deshaun Watson. This is a great show, guys. By the way.
Not great in the off season.
Yeah,
it's a bit of a struggle for content. So, are we going to talk off season stuff?
Watson. So Deshaun Watson's requested a trade, and apparently he requested it weeks ago, and they didn't release it until earlier this week. And I'm not surprised whatsoever, just because of how the Texans have handled everything in the last few years.
I mean, all he asked for, which I can kind of understand, is that he just wanted to be a part of the conversation. Now, he didn't ask to be the decision maker.
No.
He didn't ask to be in the interviews. He just said, look, you've put a lot of money behind me. He's got a nice, juicy contract, which we'll come on to later. He just wanted to be a part of the conversation. Look, I'm your most important player, really. Yep. Ask us what you're going to do. And to be honest, to me, on the front of the Texans, that could have been a phone call. They could have gone, hey, we're considering hiring this guy. This is his name. This is who he's worked for. Do you have any opinions? And even if Deshaun Watson would have turned around and gone, I've heard that guy's really bad, he's terrible, then as an organization, that's something that you want to know. Like, if your starting quarterback, who you've invested a lot of money in, isn't going to get on with this guy, that's a problem. But it also shows you that Deshaun Watson, who's a very down-to-earth individual from the sounds of it, kind of wanted to be a part of the conversation, and he would have kind of guided you in the right way. I think Deshaun Watson has had a lot of issues with head coaches, because not only did his last head coach lose the locker room, no one really wanted to listen to him.
That's an understatement.
They traded away Deshaun Watson's favorite toy.
Right.
I've forgotten his name, Jared.
DeAndre Hopkins.
So to me, I think this trade has some levels to it. Now, we'll go through teams and stuff like that in a minute, but I think this is Deshaun Watson going, either make me happy or I'm going somewhere.
Right, because I'm not going to play for you if you don't give me something to work with. Because truly, what did he have to work with after Hopkins was gone? He had 3 running backs and guys.
David Johnson is a solid running back. He's not the best in the world.
Right.
He is a solid running back. I think that, you've got a defensive front in J.J. Watt, who was really good. You had Tyreek Hill in your secondary, which you somehow let go.
Yep.
He's possibly one of the best safeties in football. He was really good. You had a team that was on the rise, that was built, because you had a number 1 wide receiver, a good receiving core. You had some problems at running back, but you had a quarterback who made up for it. You had a defense that was aggressive and had an identity, and now you're possibly going to lose all of that.
Well, yeah. If I'm Deshaun Watson and watching all these players get thrown out the door, I'm going, well, what is the vision for this team, and does it even include me?
I also don't understand why the Texans were like, we're in rebuild.
Right.
Why in rebuild?
You didn't need to be in rebuild. You forced that upon yourselves. You
went to the postseason the past couple of years. The way I saw it, you needed some pieces.
Yeah.
You needed a good runner, which you could have got in a draft. In reality, if you go into the NFL draft going, we need a running back, you spend your first round pick on the best running back of the draft, and your second on the second best running back in the draft, because then you're definitely going to get a guy that can run. You've already got the depth of David Johnson. You've got a guy who can catch anything that's thrown to him. You've got a talented football team. You're a contender.
Yeah.
But now you're like, we need to rebuild? Why?
Yeah, and this is why I don't have any remorse for Deshaun Watson requesting a trade, because I mean, my opinions already. I've said it multiple times on how I just think that the Texans have totally screwed themselves up here, and it's embarrassing what happened, really.
I don't get that. That was a team that I think if you...
Well, we had discussions about it in previous years about how you thought the Texans might be Super Bowl contenders potentially this year if they didn't do all of what's just happened.
Because they were the Ravens. So the Ravens, when they when they won their Super Bowl, their last one, were not the most talented team on the offensive side of the ball. They had Joe Flacco at quarterback.
Yeah,
that was it. Joe Flacco. And
who can't make the Jets?
No. But they had a defense. So the Texans had a defense. They had J.J. Watt, who was going to give you a turnover every game, if not 2, who was just a beast and made quarterbacks sit there and go, fucking JJ's coming after me. They put other things under the defensive line that made them good as well. They were good in the secondary. They had good linebackers. They were built at defense. And then you bring in a rookie QB who just absolutely is great at throwing the ball. So you're like, well, why are you in rebuild? Why are you trying to rebuild?
So I've already heard potential suitors for Watson, and I heard one that was talking about how there's a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL that are better than Dak Prescott, so the Dallas Cowboys should target Deshaun Watson. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, okay, so the Dallas Cowboys, who were up until Dak Prescott got hurt, possible contenders for the Super Bowl, and Dak Prescott was in the MVP conversation early on in the season, then had a season-ending injury, and the Dallas Cowboys were utter trash after he got hurt. You're going to tell me that there are many better quarterbacks in the NFL than Dak Prescott. I'm like, Deshaun Watson is better than Dak Prescott, but Dak Prescott is better than, like, I would say at least 50% of the quarterbacks in the NFL.
Also,
so
the reason that Dallas haven't signed Dak to a monster deal yet is because they don't want to spend the money because they haven't got the cap space.
Right.
So if they got the cap space for Dak, how are they going to absorb Deshaun Watson's contract?
Which is $40 million next season on a cap hit, by the way.
So if we just quickly run through the teams. So now I would be very surprised if they trade to someone in the AFC because they don't want him playing against him for the rest of the year.
Oh, so that's out.
Let's look at the NFC first. So Washington, now they have Alex Smith, and actually they went 5-2 for the last 6 games of the year with Alex Smith at quarterback. So I don't know. That's a no.
Well, and they also now have this toy that they might be able to experiment with in Taylor Heineke.
Yeah, they had Heineke, who played very well.
27 years old, only played 1 game, but played very well in said 1 game. You know, 27, you're looking at a potential area of, you know, could this guy break out at 27? Because quarterbacks are, you know, bit of a different one. They also have Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah. The Giants just drafted a QB, and they're very happy with him. I think the reason they're 6-10 is because Shaquan wasn't there, and they built an offense around Shaquan Barkley, and then Shaquan Barkley wasn't there, and they had problems. The Cowboys we've already discussed. The Eagles are not going to be able to get rid of Carson Wentz.
Also, Deshaun Watson, if you go to Deshaun Watson and say, all right, so we're thinking of trading you to the Eagles, his answer is going to be absolutely not.
He's already said he wants to go to a team with success.
Right. He wants to go to a team that has an offense that he can fit into and that he doesn't have to be the offense.
Or rebuild the offense.
Right.
The Eagles are a no. The Seahawks are a no. The Rams are a no. The Cardinals are a no.
Yeah.
The 49ers have got Jimmy Garoppolo, who's another person that they've given a massive contract to. The problem is that no team can have 2 $40 million quarterbacks on their payroll. They're just not going to do it.
No, because you can't have any other. You can't have anything else.
Don't have anything else. What happened? We spent all of our offensive budget on quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Where's the rest of the team? Don't ask. The Packers know. The Bears have got Mitch Trubisky, who, I mean, they like him, but again,
don't know why they like him.
Another team who they've given a massive contract to. The Vikings are
maybe. That's the first team that you said that might actually have a case.
Yeah. The Lions, no.
No, because they've got Matt Stafford on a gigantic deal. Well, no, sorry. They just got rid of Matt Stafford. So maybe they could.
But he wants to go to a team with a winning culture, and they were 5-11.
Right. And have a coach who's already been labeled a maniac.
The Saints have got Drew Brees. If he retires, but the problem is if he retires, I think their plan is to go Jameis Winston. because
Right.
the thing that everyone's always said about Jameis Winston is he's never been he has got an incredibly high amount of passing yard and an incredibly high amount of passing touchdowns. A bit high in the interception rate, but maybe a year behind Drew Brees has kind of taught him not to do that. The Buccaneers have got Tom Brady, who've just taken them to a Super Bowl. So one, he's not retiring anytime soon.
No.
And two, why would they? You've got Tom Brady at 25 million a year. Why are you going to bring someone in at 40 to do a worse job?
Yeah.
The Carolina Panthers, from what I remember, they're very happy with their QB. He works in their system. He does very well. They're a team that had an offense built around Christian McCaffrey because last year he was 2,010 yards of their offense.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they're happy with Teddy Bridgewater, but like, I don't know. That I could see that. I could see the Panthers making a case to get Deshaun Watson because Bridgewater's fine.
Have they got 40 million they can spare next year?
Right. And if they've so they need to they need to move some things around. But if you've got Christian McCaffrey and Deshaun Watson, that's
a dangerous combination.
That's a dangerous combination in the backfield.
And they have got quite a good wide receiving core.
Yeah.
So maybe Panthers?
Maybe. So we've got the Vikings and the Panthers as potential suitors.
The last one is the Falcons, who went 4-12.
And they have Matt Ryan, so nope.
I don't think he's going to a 4-12 team. If they trade in the AFC, which I don't think you'd want to trade your starting, in my opinion, one of the only guys that could go toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes. You aren't trading inside your own division. And even then, Bills don't need a quarterback. Dolphins don't need a quarterback. He's not going to the Patriots.
Nope.
Because...
Well, the Patriots have said that they're rebuilding.
Yeah. So they're not... And also, if they wouldn't spend more than £20 million on Tom Brady, we're not spending £40 million on you. The Jets is definitely not going to the Jets.
The Patriots would have to have a reshuffling of upper management if they wanted to get Deshaun Watson as well as on the field.
Yeah, we don't even need to say the name of the Chiefs. The Raiders 8-8, but they had Derek Carr, who has a massive contract.
And I think Derek Carr has, if you give Derek Carr another couple of years, he could be solid.
Yeah. The Chargers, that's just not going to happen. They like the guy they've got at QB. The Broncos,
5-11.
5-11. He wants to go to a winning team. Now, the Steelers.
Also, the Broncos have Drew Lock, and from what I understood, they were looking to develop him because he's only 24.
Yeah.
So you've got a 24-year-old Drew Lock and then a 27-year-old Jeff Driscoll, who's, mentoring him. And you've got Brett Rippon as well, who's 24. So you've got two 24-year-old quarterbacks that you're potentially trying to develop. But there again, I think it's all about, is this team ready to take the next step? For me, the Broncos is no.
From what I've watched a few from what he said. What he says is he wants to go into a team where he can create a legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to me, a legacy means he wants to win some Super Bowls. Now, to do that in a league where you're now going to have, I definitely, in my opinion, if I'm him, I am not staying in the AFC because in the AFC, at least you've got Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, Patrick Mahomes, and who's the quarterback?
Well, Ben Roethlisberger will still be there. Josh Allen.
I mean, you've got Derek Henry.
You mentioned Lamar Jackson, right?
Yeah, I mentioned Lamar Jackson. So that's a difficult league.
Yeah.
At the moment. You're definitely not going to the Bengals because why would you want to go into the AFC North with how competitive it is? Yeah. Also, they're the Bengals. And then, I've got to mention the AFC South, which is the division he's already in. Titans don't need a QB.
Nope.
they were happy with Ryan Tannehill and what they had there. I mean, they've got an offense built around Derrick Henry, and when Derrick Henry doesn't win, they can throw the ball. The Colts, no. I mean,
Well,
and it's the Jaguars.
the thing is that the Colts, for me, are the team that has the biggest case to make to get Deshaun Watson, because they're a team with success who just lost their quarterback to retirement, and they really don't have anybody behind him. Like they've got Jacoby Brissett, who's 28, and that's it.
But then
So,
why would you trade?
but then there
Unless,
exactly. Why would you trade to a
unless
division rival?
Yeah, the thing is for the Texans is the Texans are in a horrible position.
Yeah.
Because they've got, to my knowledge, 2 players on their team that won out. They've got JJ Watt, who wants to go somewhere. Now, he's not on a contract at the moment, but unless it's to the Buccaneers or a team that he goes, they went to the Super Bowl last year, they're already going to be in the contention this year, so I can get there. Because that's all he wants at this point in his career.
Well, and that's what he did. That's what the poor man deserves.
Yeah. You've got him who wants to go somewhere. And you've got your star QB that wants to go somewhere. So you're stood there with 2 prime if you think about candy apples or something like to use this metaphor, you've got 2 juicy candy apples covered in sprinkles and all that kind of stuff, right? But the problem is, and this is what the Texans need to realize, they're on a diabetic ward. So no one wants it. So look at these amazing things we've got. And if any other point, you went, we've got JJ Watt to trade and Deshaun Watson, you could get your weight in gold.
Yeah.
But no team needs them. JJ Watt is probably going to be easier to move than Deshaun Watson, because I'm sure there's teams out there that could probably persuade JJ. Like, I mean, if you're the Steelers, you go, hey, we've got both of your brothers. If you're the Ravens, we go, we need something on the defensive side of the ball, please. The Browns are a possibility because he can go, look, we got close. There's a lot of teams that could potentially turn around to JJ and go, hey, like the Chiefs could turn around to JJ and go, look, mate, take a lower contract, but we'll get there in at least the next 2 years. And he'll probably go, yeah, okay, I can sacrifice 20 million of a contract to go. I still want 10 million a year because it's what I'm fucking worth.
Yeah.
But he would go somewhere else. But that's not a situation that Deshaun Watson's in. He's in a situation where he's got a guaranteed contract. He's not out of contract. Legally, the Texans could have turned around to him and he can request a trade, but legally the Texans could turn around to him and go, fuck off.
Yeah.
You're playing for us this year. And he has to play for them next year. For me, now he will know the market better than we will. So for me, this is him throwing his toys out the pram. For me, this is him going, I'm not happy. JJ's not happy. The locker room's not happy. The locker room is with me and JJ. You need to make us happy, or we don't, or we're not going to play. I think he wants his star wide receiver back, or he wants a wide receiver of that caliber. He wants a star back because he definitely suffered without having his guy to go to. And I think he wants more of an input in the team, which I don't. I'm sure that the reason that teams like the Chiefs and the Bucs have done so well this year is because the offensive coordinators of both of those teams have turned around and gone, when I'm scripting plays, I ask my quarterback what he likes. Because
no, I've written down three teams.
Yeah.
And we'll be keeping a close eye on this story as it develops.
Yeah.
As to whether or not he actually does end up on the trade block or not. I've written down the Colts, the Vikings, and the Panthers, because those 3 teams to me make the most sense. And I actually think the Vikings is the one that makes the most sense, because of those 3 teams, they're not in the same conference. and they're the one with the most success that's not in the same conference that could use an upgrade at quarterback. Because the Vikings have been kind of running on the fumes of whatever other quarterbacks they've tried to fill in that slot, while having a decent team around it.
Jared, what teams did you say?
The Colts, which would only happen if basically the Texans are getting, the Texans have to get their weight in gold off the Colts if they're going to do that. But the Colts
were £27 million over the cap last year.
Right.
So not only do they need to lose £27 million, they need to find 40. So you're telling me that the Colts are going to find...
Well, how much was Phillip Rivers getting paid?
25 million.
Are you sure? That's it? That doesn't seem like enough for Phillip Rivers.
Okay. Well, how much was he being overpaid then?
No, you're right.
I pulled that out of my ass.
$25 million cap hit for Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, so they've got to find... So they were 27 over the cap. So let's say they get rid of Phillip Rivers. So that's 7 million. Huh?
2.
Oh, yeah, 2 million over the cap, sorry. So you've then got to move around and find 42 million pounds.
Yeah. Which I'd be willing to do if Deshaun Watson is on the market and available for me to acquire.
Yeah.
But the Texans probably aren't going to do that because they're in the same division.
Yeah. The team that actually I'm looking at that I think might be worth a conversation is the Cleveland Browns.
No.
Going into next year, have £40 million of cap space to spend in the offseason.
Why would you acquire Deshaun Watson when you already have Baker Mayfield?
I'm not talking about acquiring Deshaun Watson. I'm talking about acquiring JJ Watt.
Oh, well, yeah.
Awesome.
That makes sense. But don't forget, the Baker Mayfield has to be paid very shortly. He's only making $10 million now.
Yeah, not next year, though. He doesn't have to pay next year.
Right.
So they're not worried about next year.
I'm actually not sure what's going on because there's just nothing on his contract for next year. It says he's a UFA in 2023, but for 2022, there's no details as to what his cap hit is or anything.
It's an extension of the existing contract. So it's an extension, yeah. It'll probably be 15 million or something, but I assume they've already incorporated that in.
Right.
I mean, Odell is signed for next year. The annoying one that hurts me deeply. It hurts me deep, Jared. Was, do you want to know how much my New England Patriots had in free money last year?
Wasn't it quite a lot?
58 million.
Yeah.
We had 58 million pounds that we didn't do anything with.
Are you sure he couldn't be convinced to go to the Patriots?
With what?
Well, they'd have to do some work.
You'd have to. At the moment we have nothing. We need an offensive line, a defensive line, a running game, a wide receiver game, a quarterback, a defensive line, a defensive secondary, and linebackers. We need a team.
Well, but this is you've got Damian Harris, who's 23, Sonny Michel, who's 25, both of whom are capable running backs, Jacoby Myers, Demir Bird. These guys are all in their mid-20s. N'Keal Harry's 23. And he's like, you've got young, Like this team has young receivers and a young running game that will develop. So if you bring in a Deshaun Watson, who's a younger quarterback himself.
Yeah, but if Cam Newton couldn't get it working, then the problem is
broken Cam Newton was 35 is 31 years old and past his prime.
If I'm Deshaun Watson and I've watched what's happened to the Patriots, which is where they've got less than when even Tom was there. Somehow we've got worse at like players somehow. I don't know how. And we're now, and what you think he's going to look at that and go, yeah, that's a team that I'm going to go to the Super Bowl with next year?
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that they need to do some work. I find it really funny that I'm actively trying to make the New England Patriots better, even though I'm very happy that they suck.
Yeah, but the problem is, Jared, is look, as much as, yes, a team with history is the New England Patriots, and that there's two reasons why this isn't going to happen. One, there's no way that Bill Belichick, in his entire time that he had Tom, would never give Tom a decent contract, is going to suck up a £40 million a year contract. That's just not how Bill works. And the problem is that if you get rid of Bill, what's the point of coming to the Patriots? And the other is that to get Deshaun Watson, you need to get him to a team where he knows that he's going to win, which means that you need to go, look, shiny wide receivers and running backs, things you can throw to. And that's not what the Patriots have at the moment. If I was the Texans and I was trying, the one thing that you could get from the Patriots, if I am Deshaun Watson, if I am the Texans and I'm trying to keep Deshaun Watson happy and go, look, you want legacy? I'm trying to grab Bill Belichick as a head coach.
As the Texans? Well, they've already hired their head coach.
Or a general manager or something like that.
That's David Culley, who I don't think either of us really know anything about other than they worked with the Ravens. I've written it down. I've written New England down as a potential. Well, that's the point.
Definitely going to be wrong.
Vikings, Panthers, Patriots. We'll see how this story develops. Right, Sunday. Next Sunday, not this Sunday, because...
Are we not going to talk about the conference championship games?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're getting to that.
Okay.
Next Sunday will be the Chiefs and the Buccaneers.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because I ended the podcast last week with I'm probably going to end up texting Gavin, why did I bet against Tom Brady? And that's exactly what I did.
It happened.
Yeah. And to me, the way this Packers Bucks game unfolded was basically the Packers team lost it for Aaron Rodgers. I can't tell you how perfectly intercepted the interception that Aaron Rodgers threw was.
Yeah.
It was right to the guys. Like all this guy had to do was turn and catch it like this. It was right where he needed it to be.
Yep.
And the defender just stepped right in front of him and went yoink. Like you could not have intercepted that more perfectly. And Rodgers couldn't have thrown that more perfectly. And it's just the way that worked out.
That just happens.
Aaron Rodgers had a brilliant game. 33 for 48, 346 yards, 3 touchdowns, and then that interception that I just talked about.
Yeah.
His receivers were dropping the ball that was thrown perfectly to them. Yeah. And his defense let a Hail Mary pass get caught for a touchdown with 2 seconds left in the first half. You're not going to win that way, folks.
I've said this once. I've said it 1,000 times. The quarterback is a subjective position. Now, as much as a quarterback has a very big influence on the game of football, it has a massive influence. There is an element that they can only do so much.
Right.
Now, in my opinion, if your QB is putting up 26 points, He's done all he can do. At this point,
and he's thrown 3 touchdowns.
Yeah,
and 346 yards. Like
at this point in the postseason, you are not going to be going up against teams that are going to let you dig yourself out of a 31-point hole. It's not going to happen. It's all well and good having an Aaron Rodgers who, when you put yourself in a 31-point hole, is talented enough to dig you out of it some of the time. He's not going to do it every single time. He's not going to be able to. No human being is. No human being is perfect. No human being is superhuman. He has pulled off some superhuman feats, but he can't pull you out of that hole.
And truly, he shouldn't have had to. I mean, Tom Brady threw 3 interceptions, and what did they do with them? Because his receivers kept dropping the ball.
Yeah. I mean, they'd given it to you. But at the end of the day, if I'm Aaron Rodgers, I'm walking out of here and going, I scored 26 points. What did the rest of you do?
Yeah. I outplayed Tom Brady. What did the rest of you do?
I outplayed Tom Brady with a rushing offense that did nothing. I mean, 6 for 27, 7 for 23, and 3 for 17.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. If I'm Aaron Rodgers, I'm looking at my defense, going, guys.
Well, and I'm looking at my other wide receivers and going, guys, because other than Marquise Scantling, who had 4 catches for 115 yards, the next best receiver was Devontae Adams, who had 67 yards on 9 catches. And he couldn't get more than 7 yards a catch.
Yeah, I mean,
it just wasn't good enough on every other team around him, and even the coach, because I don't know if you watched this whole game or not. Did you see the end of it?
No.
So at the end, Rodgers marches the ball downfield.
Yeah.
I think they were 1st and goal.
Yeah.
He throws an incomplete pass.
Mm-hmm.
He overthrows another receiver.
Yeah.
And then another receiver drops the ball. So it's 4th and goal.
Yeah.
There's 2 minutes left in the game.
Yeah.
And they kick a field goal. They're down by 8. And they kick a field goal with 2 minutes left in the game. And then hand the ball back to Brady. And I'm like,
don't give Tom Brady the football with the game on the line with 2 minutes left to go.
Yeah, and Tom Brady just wastes. And so they kicked the field goal, and then they did a full kick. They didn't even try an onside kick to get the ball back after the field goal. They just did a full kick, handed the ball back to Brady, and all Brady did was waste time. They just gave up. The coach gave up the game at the end for the Packers. It's
got Aaron Rodgers on 1st and goal. Like, in that situation, you either, like, to be honest, even giving the ball up is a win, because if you go for it and you get it, great. If you go for it and you don't, you give up the ball on the goal line.
Yeah, you give up the ball on the 9. It's a turnover on downs on the 9-yard line. Like,
it's on the 9-yard line, which has gained you 15 yards if you kick it.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, at least make it difficult.
Yeah, you've already given Aaron 3 tries, and he whiffed on a couple of them, and then the 3rd time the receiver dropped the ball. Yeah. Give it to him the 4th time, and maybe he does it. And then you go for 2, and the game's tied. Like it's absurd to me how that game ended.
Yep.
So
if we move on to our next one, Patrick Mahomes is a bad person.
Why? Because he had his way with the Buffalo Bills.
I mean, he didn't score anything in the first, and then he scored 21, 10, and 7.
Yeah.
And I mean, okay, I'm trying to figure out what's going on with this running game here because D. Williams went 13 for 52, which isn't great, but
and then Hardman had a 50-yard run, which was very good.
Well done. I would have possibly run Hardman again.
Yeah,
maybe another go. He might go. I mean, even if he does half as good, it's still very good, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then you start to figure out where Patrick Mahomes. I think they might have not rested some people, but you start to understand where Patrick Mahomes throws the football because Tyreek Hill went 9 for 172 in the postseason.
And then Travis Kelce went 13 for 118 yards and 2 touchdowns.
And I watched some of this game, and basically what the defense was doing was going, we're going to put 2 people on Tyreek Hill. And one was a cornerback. And then something they did was very, very clever. On some plays, they had a cornerback here on the line, and then 10 yards deep, they had another guy waiting for him because they knew that he was going to blast past this guy, and it gave this guy time to anticipate and catch up with him. And they kind of slowed him down mildly. But on every play where they went, we're going to put 2 on Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes just looked and went, okay,
he threw to Kelce.
Throw this to the tight end.
Yeah.
And they'd go, shit, we need to put 2 people on Travis Kelce. They put 2 people on Travis Kelce, and then Tyreek Hill would just go, gooey, off I go.
Well, yeah, because Tyreek Hill's one of the fastest people in the NFL.
It's just embarrassing to watch it happen to cornerbacks.
Yeah.
Because these guys, he doesn't do anything special at the line. He doesn't do anything amazing. What he does do, and people were like trying to figure this out, and one of the guys on the NFL podcast just put it perfectly. He's just fast.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to do anything special like Odell or Jarvis, where he has to shimmy and shake at the line or do some fancy footwork or anything like that. He just is quick. And the playbook for him and Patrick Mahomes is right. Run about 20 yards deep, and after 20 yards, you'll have ran past everyone. I'll throw you the football.
Yeah. You'll have had enough separation because you can run those 20 yards faster than anyone else on this defense.
Yeah. I mean, after 20 yards, with most of the quarterbacks in this game, he was about 3 yards clear.
Well, and truly, it's not like Josh Allen had the worst game.
No, he didn't have a bad game.
He was 28 for 48, 287 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did throw an interception. And this is what I said. Buffalo will have to play a perfect game to win, and they didn't.
Yeah, and they didn't. I mean,
you know, the offense wasn't anything spectacular. Stephon Diggs wasn't the connection that Josh Allen needed him to be in this game.
No, but I think that they knew that was what they. I think that Kansas City knew that was what they had to do.
Right, and so they forced Allen to throw to Cole Beasley, and while that worked, it didn't work as well as it needed to.
Yeah,
I mean, Josh Allen ran for 88 yards too.
I think on the side of the Bills, this was a good year for them. I think that you're going to have to think of something. I think you need to find something like you. I don't know. You're a talented football team. You've got a good QB. You're in a very good position.
Yeah.
You lost to the Kansas City Chiefs, who have proven that they are very good.
They will be good for years to come.
Yeah. As long as Patrick Mahomes stays healthy, which from how he plays, he's going to. I mean, the man looks easy. I was watching him throw some of these footballs, and you just go,
wow.
I mean, one of the ones I got was Tyreek Hill ran I think 15 yards and then ducked into the middle of the field. And before he ducked in, Patrick had thrown the ball and it basically hit Tyreek in the numbers. That's one of the reasons why these guys are so good, is because there's no point where like a guy's having to jump to get a football, land, he's stationary, and then can he run? He always hits them in stride. It's difficult to find a Patrick Mahomes throw that isn't to the numbers.
Yeah.
no amazing
and the
grabs or anything.
specific throw that you're talking about is like, it wasn't like Tyreek even had to turn to catch the ball. It was like he ran into where the ball was, because it was so perfectly thrown that he didn't have to do this. All he had to do was this.
Yeah. It just
and you
basically
can't even see it because my mic's in the way. But all he had to do was this at his chest and just gone.
I can continue running now. It's just like, okay, bolt gone, bolt gone, bolt gone.
Yeah, he's unbelievable.
That would be good if he could just do that in the pocket, Jared. But he escapes out of the pocket, he's running, and then like off one back leg just goes, and it goes 52 yards, and someone
into
just
the
goes,
numbers.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah. There's been a conversation going on about, who is the most talented quarterback ever. Is it Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes? And it's Patrick Mahomes.
I mean, I was having this argument with a guy at work who we were talking about, guys that are going to be Hall of Fame and all that kind of stuff. And I said that the guys like Deshaun Watson, Baker Mayfield kind of, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, these younger QBs that not only can they run, but they can throw, and they can throw with an excellent, that's like, once Trevor Lawrence gets in the league, like, also, by the way, those three teams that are going to possibly be drafting and need quarterbacks are also going to be in the draft and could draft Trevor Lawrence, which then removes, you're very, like, the numbers that we look at now and go, oh, well, Tom Brady got into the Hall of Fame with this amount of numbers. I think that when Patrick Mahomes is done with what I hope to be a very long and competitive career, those numbers are going to look embarrassing, because I think he could catch them very quickly.
I wouldn't be surprised if Patrick Mahomes breaks 80,000 yards.
It's doable.
Like Drew Brees. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm probably, well, we'll save our picks for next. We'll save our picks for next week.
Yeah.
We'll do a whole.
We could get Bell to do a quiz about the Super Bowl, but about the stuff that we don't know about the Super Bowl.
Let's do it.
I love the way we haven't asked her about that yet.
But don't worry, folks. It's going to happen. I want to wrap up the pod with a discussion that we've been having for a few weeks now, and to broaden it to something a little bit more concrete and something a bit more wide scale, because I don't think we've been focusing on little snippets of it.
Yeah.
And what it is that I've discovered that Major League Sports has an officiating problem.
Yeah, all of them.
It's not just the ones that we're focusing on right now. We haven't even talked about the NBA in basketball. We haven't even discussed them. But in the NHL and the NFL right now, I'd say rugby, Formula One, they all have this problem. Yeah, it's rampant. But in the four major North American leagues, in Major League Baseball, the National Basketball Association, the National Hockey League, and the National Football League, officiating has gone off the rails to a point where people are no longer discussing the games. They're discussing the officiating that is having an impact on the game.
Yeah.
And I don't really understand where the mentality has come in for officials, where they seem to feel like they need to have an impact on the game, or they're not doing their job properly, and that they need to have some sort of character to go with it now. There's a referee in the NHL named something just came across my screen. There's a referee in the NHL named Wes McCauley, who's, I'm sure, a lovely man, but he has started to create this personality because the referees have microphones in the NHL now, where they come on just like in the NFL, where the NFL official comes on and says the penalties against so-and-so, what it is, whatever. In the NHL, they do the same now, where they announce to the arena, minor penalty, Toronto number 14, 2 minutes slashing, right?
Yeah.
Which is fine. But this guy has made it into a performance, and the NHL is celebrating it as if it's a part of the entertainment factor, which to me it is absolutely not. And the fact that as a league, if you are celebrating a referee for their entertainment value, there's some serious problems with the entertainment value of the sport you're putting on, if that's the case.
Look, people have personalities, and I don't think that we should force people to not have a personality. There was a famous, and I will send you a video of him later. There was a famous rugby referee called Nigel Owens, who was not only he's a Irishman, and
they've always got character.
Yes, he always played the game with respect, had the respect of the players, had respect of the staff. He was a very good referee. He had a personality, but it wasn't a performance. Basically, people would record, like he was recorded because obviously they are the same in rugby. They have the thing on, and people are also, is he putting that on for the game? No, rugby players don't remember. No, that's just how Nigel always is. The problem for me is that these sports seem to have not realized that we live in a digital age. I no longer understand why the referee on the field is the main decision maker. Because to me, the referee on the field has got more than just the game to concentrate on. Because he's running around, he's trying to get himself in the right position so he can see everything. And then even when he is only looking with 2 pair of human eyes, which with the best will in the world, when he's focusing on other things.
Yeah. Just so that people understand why I'm doing this. This is my peripheral vision.
Yeah. So he's dealing with that. Now, at lower levels of sport, amateur sport, I can understand that because you're not going to have, I think in the NFL, they have one camera on each, 6, 7, 8 cameras covering the field as well as a sky cam. You're not going to have that. So personal referees are always going to be a level. But in professional sports or sports where there is money being spent and there's cameras there, I do not understand why your referee on the field does not have a team, especially in the NFL. We'll go on to other sports in a minute. The NFL is a stop-go game.
Correct.
So you could have one guy on the field, 2 guys on the lines, and then financially viable because of how much money is being made off these games. Have 3, maybe 4 guys sat watching the camera feeds. And then behind those 4 guys, you have a head referee who basically is sat there and has 4 guys. And if one of those 4 guys goes, yeah, I've seen something on this play. And then it goes, yeah. And then he sends it to the main referee. And while the guys are having, if one of them sees something, presses a button, the head referee can quickly review it. And if it's something that's worth a penalty, he calls down to the guy and goes, this is a penalty. This is why. You could have a guy stood on the side. As soon as one of them presses the yellow button, he throws the flag or something like that. That's all doable. But those 4 guys are going to have 1,000 times better vision and better ability to see what's going on than the guy on the field. That's first fold. Because that would be exactly the same, because that's what happens in Formula 1, and they catch a lot more in Formula 1 because they have 24 drivers and they have a guy who watches each driver's feed.
Yeah.
And just they're watching the feed. And if something happens, the guy that's watching, if Lewis Hamilton cuts up Sebastian Vettel, the guy that's watching Lewis Hamilton's feed can go, this is what happened, I was watching Lewis. And the guy watching Sebastian Vettel can go, this is what happened, I was watching Sebastian Vettel. And the head guy can go, okay, this is the reason. This is what we're going to do. They don't always get it right, but it's right more than often. My other thing as well is that we need to, with some of the rules, we need to realize that something digital is going to be more able to figure out what's going on than other. The biggest one we always argue about, or that we always go, oh, I don't know how this is going to go, is possession of a football.
Oh, God.
Whether
it's a catch or not, yeah.
Now, to me, that could be a sensor. And it's not can we look at different camera views and see if his knee was down and all that kind of stuff. You have two accelerometers in the knee, in each player's knee. They're wearing fucking huge pads anyway. You can put a sensor in that. And then you also put a sensor in the ball. And what you can do is, if the ball doesn't notice any form of change in trajectory or anything like that, he didn't have possession of the ball. And basically what it is a three-way circuit. If the ball goes, well, I'm not being thrown at 50 mile an hour anymore, I'm being held at like 12, and both the knee sensors go beep beep, are both hit the floor, and then within the range of the field which you can do, and go, right, it's a catch. You caught the ball. Your knees hit the ground, you had hold of the ball, you're fine. If you want to make it that he has to have possession of the ball until he hits the ground, then you just basically do a thing where the ball has to know that it's being held or something like that. You can put sensors on it so that it knows it's being held or something like that. So like a mild change in pressure will tell that. I'm sure that there's someone out there that could make a football that knows it's been caught. And then it basically has a sensor that goes right across the ground. Now that one's a bit more complicated, I understand. But then the one for the touchdowns is you put a laser or something like that is along the goal line, and you put a receptor in the ball, and the ball goes, I've crossed the goal line.
Yeah.
I've crossed it.
That one to me is the easiest one to do. The whole catching thing in the NFL is, I mean, it's so much more clear what a catch is in the CFL than it is in the NFL. And I don't understand why it's so difficult to lay out the basic fundamentals of possession of the football in the NFL. Because does he have the ball in two of his hands? Yes. Well, then that's a catch. Does he have the ball in one arm and he's got it tucked to his body? Yes. Well, then that's a catch. Does he grab the ball and then kind of fumble it a little bit and hit the ground? And when he's hit the ground, he doesn't have control of it because he's kind of fumbling with it. Yes. Well, then that's not a catch. I don't know how much more difficult it needs to be.
You can make it even more simpler than that. The rule in rugby is a bit different with the whole catching thing. But the rule in rugby is, did he do it on purpose? So if you're fumbling for the ball and the ball lands and hits the ground and it's hit the ground and you then bring it into yourself, you haven't caught it.
Correct.
If when you land on the ground, no matter what happened between when you touch the ball first and when you land on the ground, as long as when the play's finished, you're on the ground with the ball in your hands, you've caught it. I don't care what happens, if you're fumbling it around, if the other player knocks it up into the air, as long as when your knee hits the floor, you've got it in your hands, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And it'll be as simple as that. Because if you look at it and it bounces off the ground, then you caught it. No, you didn't catch it.
Simple as that. There's 5 billion camera angles in the NFL that you can have to decide whether or not he had it.
The one thing that never gets disputed, which is why I relate to rugby, is in rugby, to make a try, you have to have downwards pressure on the ball as it goes into the try, across the try line. Right. That's very easy because the way that they basically watch it is they can watch it from a pylon camera, and if the guy has his hand on top of the ball and he's pushing it down, it's fine. Well, they had one that was disputed once, which I remember. I'm sure there's more than one, but which was where a guy had the ball like this.
Yeah.
And his hands got knocked free, and he landed in the end zone, and he landed on top of the ball. To which the ref went, "There's downwards pressure on the ball." And everyone went, "Oh, but he's not doing it in his hands, da da da." And the ref basically pulled the book out of his pocket and went, "Downwards pressure on the ball. He's falling. There's downwards pressure on the ball. He's done it on purpose."
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
Simple as that. But even then, I think these things, they need to realise that the antiquated thing of having like the game moves so fast now. Every single game moves so fast. In the old days, it was probably easy to see. But I think one of the things I was watching was you could very easily.
Keep going.
Okay, you could very easily on every single NFL football play call offensive holding or pass interference or something like that. He's just left me with a podcast. He's gone away. He hasn't explained what he's doing. Oh, he's coming back. Yeah, he's back.
Are you done?
No, I was talking about you left me on my own with a podcast. I was talking about the fact that basically on every single play in the NFL, there is some form of holding.
Right. Yeah, there is. Absolutely. Every single football play, there's some form of holding.
Yeah,
so
and it's just where
the line is, for me,
yeah.
And I think what needs to be established, because again, none of this seems to get established. The line has to be, are you restraining the lineman from making a tackle?
Yeah.
And that's generally when it gets called. It doesn't always get called like that, but are you pushing against the guy, like, because you're allowed to grab their shoulder pads, right? When you go at them. So are you grabbing? Pardon?
But that's what I don't understand. I don't understand the whole thing and the methodology and what they teach in every single thing is what you want to do is go and get him, and it's not underneath the armpits.
No.
Underneath the shoulder pads.
Yeah, it's into the shoulder pads.
And direct him like that. And basically what it is whoever gets that's got control of the other human being. But how wedging your hands in his shoulder pads and grabbing is not holding because you held him.
Correct.
Isn't hold. How is that not holding?
So then does it, is the guy trying to get free now? I think it has to, for me, it has to be, are the two of you locked together?
Yeah.
That's not holding. If you've locked together and then one guy lets go to try and do something, if you don't also let go, you're holding him. If there's not equal amounts of holding going on, that's holding against whatever player's still holding on.
I think in the offensive defensive line thing, that's always going to be a difficult thing to call.
Right.
But the one for me is where it's like not offensive pass interference, but like offensive, when basically they're fighting each other the entire way up, and then the wide receiver pushes the guy away, and then gets and he gets called for that. Nope, don't call that. If for me, unless the two of them are running next to each other with their hands behind their back, and then the wide receiver reaches out and pushes him away, no. If he's interfacing with him and trying to make it difficult for him to catch the football, if that cornerback is dumb enough to get shoved away, that's his own fault. Right. If you're the way I make it is if he's touching you and trying to make you not able to catch a football, and you're able to put hand in his chest and push him away and give yourself separation, that's his fault that he's let that happen. That's him being a dum-dum. And when he goes back to his coach and goes, offensive pass interference. No, that's the wide receiver creating separation, and you shouldn't have let him do that.
And this goes throughout the four major sports. Everything in the NBA is constantly complained about, because what it seems to be is that the refereeing is I think the NBA is criticized the most for having subjective officiating, because star players just seem to be able to not take any penalties whatsoever unless it's literally so egregious that you have to call it. But for example, James Harden, who's famous for his step back three, he takes 3 steps back with the basketball. Almost always. You can literally go find multiple YouTube videos of how this guy takes 3 steps with the basketball in his hand. The rule is 2 steps, 1 bounce. So the guy takes 3 steps, sometimes 4 even, because he does a little shuffle with his foot, with his feet, and then drains the 3, and he never gets called for traveling. Right? And technically, if you look at the rule book, the way a lot of these guys dribble is traveling, because you're supposed to dribble like this, right? If you watch basketball, a lot of these guys bounce the ball, catch it, bring it up, and then bounce it again. In the rules of the end of basketball, you're technically not supposed to do that. But they've just never updated the rule to allow people to do that. So you either allow people to do that, or you have to call the penalties, which they just don't. And then there's all kinds of offensive and defensive fouls that are so subjectively called, like whether or not you're blocking, or you've got a pushing foul or things like that. I don't even fully understand all of the rules of basketball, because they're so inconsistently called throughout the league. It depends on who's playing, who's reffing, and what star players are there.
Yeah.
And then who's committed the foul, which none of those 4 things should matter, but it does. And it seems to across sports. You can go then to Major League Baseball, where the strike zone, which is literally how you get players at the bat to swing at a ball or not, has become woefully inconsistent throughout plate umpires, to the point where coaches are getting thrown out by plate umpires for arguing too much with the fact that their strike zone is either 5 feet wide or half a foot wide.
But why? But the problem is
I not exaggerate, but it's the point that, some guys have a really big strike zone where they're getting called strikes on something that didn't cross over the plate.
I assume the strike zone is a set area of the plate. Yeah.
So I'll give it to you here. Okay. The home plate, right?
Yep.
So the strike zone is home plate, corner to corner.
Yeah.
And then in front of the batter's chest, shoulder to knee. So if I'm to stand like this, right? It's going to come from my knee to my shoulder. In front of me, the width of the plate.
So that's something that could be done by a digital system.
Exactly. And it already is done by a digital system, because you see it on every single baseball broadcast ever. They track exactly where the ball goes, exactly where it crosses the plate. And then you get this icon that pops up where it crossed the plate based on then where it is on the player. And you'll get it all the time where a ball pops up outside the strike zone and it'll be called a strike, or you'll get one that pops up inside the strike zone and it's called a ball, because the catcher can do this funny thing with their hand, where like they catch it here and then they move their hand in, right? Which is fine. And I am never going to argue about getting rid of the human element to officiating.
No,
for me, there has to be the judgment of a human being for officiating. However,
you have to give that human being as much information as possible.
Right.
And if there's a system doing that, so if he's trying to call it with his eye, so he's trying to do something where he's looking and trying to guess a ball thrown upwards.
That's what happens. So the catcher's sat here with the catcher's mitt to tell the pitcher, you should throw it here or here or whatever. And then over his shoulder is the plate umpire trying to sit there and crouch and go, oh, was that a ball or a strike?
Yeah. So why does that guy need to be sat there? Basically, he could be behind the metal cage behind home plate, not have to have all the protective fucking gear on, because I'm sure that fucking obscures your vision. He'd be sat there with a television and just basically watch them come in on the TV, the view everyone's already seeing. And then
he just yells out from there, ball or strike.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to bring it back to hockey, okay? This is the rule book that I have. This is the old rule book, actually. So 2014-15. I think it's okay if I show this because it's out of date. So this is the rule book for Hockey Canada's hockey. Okay.
I mean, one, that's way too much. What?
Look at all the possibilities for, so here's stick fouls here, okay? There's for high sticking, okay? So this is if a stick makes contact with a player's face or helmet. Oh my goodness. There are 13 different situational exceptions to the rule.
No, the rule
based on different things, right?
The rule should be the same as it is in lacrosse, which the referee isn't paying attention to what happens in lacrosse. The noise of a lacrosse stick hitting a face mask is rather distinctive. And if the referee sees it, he'll go hit to the face.
Yeah.
And there's no arguing about it because there is no way of explanation. Yes, that my stick, and in lacrosse it's a lot easier because the stick is at shoulder height, so it's kind of at face area anyway. There's no way of explaining that away. It's a hockey stick. It's meant to be down by your legs. I don't see any reason for it to be up that high. And it doesn't matter what the player's explanation should be. Your argument should be, even goes, oh, it happened because of this, happened because of that. No, you hit him in the face with your stick. I don't care how the fuck it happened. You hit him in the face with your stick.
Now here's a penalty that has been particularly misguided in the NHL. And then I think we can wrap this discussion. Otherwise, we'll just start to ramble. The slashing penalty in the NHL has been called so unbelievably inconsistently because a couple of years ago, I believe it was Sidney Crosby actually, took a slash to the hand, a two-handed strike to the hand that severed some of his pinky here. So this joint of his pinky finger was severed or sliced. It didn't come off, but he needed to get it put back on effectively. So the NHL decided to absolutely, completely, and utterly overcorrect this to say any stick contact to a player's hands is a slashing penalty. So what it is so in Hockey Canada, and this is the other thing, Hockey Canada's rules for minor hockey in Canada differ from NHL rules. So literally the game of hockey that you watch on television is different than the game of hockey that you go out and play later that night with your buddies. It doesn't make any sense to me either. Slashing as defined by Hockey Canada is any player who impedes or seeks to impede the progress of an opponent by slashing with her stick. So a slashing penalty shall be assessed to any player who swings her stick at an opponent without actually striking her, or who on the pretext of playing the puck makes a wild swing at the puck with the object of intimidating her opponent.
Well, I mean,
so here's the problem. Here's the problem is that nowhere is what a slash is defined in this rule book, right? And it's the same in the NHL rule book.
Why is it so overcomplicated? Why isn't it exactly the same as it is in lacrosse that the player must have control of the stick at all times? And if you do something that egregiously hurts another player, hurts another player or something like that, then the ref will go, didn't have control.
Mm-hmm.
I had quite a good conversation with a ref once because I used to play D-pole. Jared knows this. And a D-pole in lacrosse is 6 foot long. So when you're here, so with a lacrosse, when you've got it out in front of you and you end up on the wrong side of a player, you always want to be on the player's stick side. If you end up in the wrong side, the only thing that you can do
if you're offhand like this, is you can't bring it over the top of the player's head. So you have to kind of up and back down and stuff like that. So what I would do is do a Gandalf swing where I brought it over my head all the way back round and round. Now, not only did this look kind of funny, but in one movement, my stick was back down. And if I got it right, I gave you an entire wind up and smacked the stick. And in one game, I knocked a player's stick out of his hands 3 times because he would hold his stick hand here at the top of the head, and I would Gandalf round and just smack his top hand. I was aiming for the head of his stick, but unfortunately, he was holding his stick in such a way that when I hit his stick, my stick went down and hit his wrist. He fell for it 4 times. It's hilarious.
I think I remember this happening, actually.
I'm going to do the same thing again, and it's going to hurt. And the ref turned around to me and went, "You don't have control." And I went, "No, I'm doing it on purpose."
Right.
The player went, "He doesn't have control. He's swinging his stick wildly." And he goes, "No, he's hit you in exactly the same place the past 3 times, which means he's doing it with purpose and he has control."
Right.
So that's the rule. If you hit another player in the hand, you didn't have control of your stick. If you hit another player in the, control is the element of the game. Control.
So what? So the issue. So the issue.
You don't have control.
Right. So the issue in hockey is that there's different types of slash.
Mm-hmm.
There's the one-handed, I'm trying to bug you a bit.
Yeah.
Make your life a bit more difficult, and you tap them on the wrist with your stick blade. And then there's the two-handed, I'm trying to do more damage here kind of thing. And what's been getting called is all of it. There's no discretion in the difference between the 2 types of slashes, because to me, a one-handed tap on the wrist is not a slash.
No.
If you do that 4, 5, 6 times, okay, maybe you deserve a slashing penalty for that. And what else is being called is people are making contact with the puck carrier's stick alone and still getting called for slashing. And this is where people are getting really upset about it, is that it doesn't make sense to make a call like that, because that's not what the penalty is. And so to wrap this up, you've got, again, this is the Hockey Canada rule book, right? And you can find this online, so it doesn't matter that I'm showing this to you, because you can find it online and look at it yourself. Same with the NHL rule book. It's all there online. You can go and find it. I do not understand, and this is what needs to happen. Things need to be defined.
Yeah.
This is a slash. This is hooking. This is helmet-to-helmet contact. This is pass interference. This is roughing the passer. If it is so defined as a slash, so for example, if you were to define a slash as a two-handed swing of the stick that makes contact with a player's gloves or other part of their body, right? So a two-handed swing of the stick that makes contact with your opponent's body anywhere.
Your opponent's body first.
Yeah. Because there again, if you slash at the stick and the principal point of contact is the stick, and then your blade rides up a bit into the guy's hand, they're calling that.
Yeah, but you see, that's the thing. That you've just clarified it. You've just figured it out, because basically by saying, did it hit the stick first?
Right.
The rule as we would write it would be a two-handed slash that hits the player's body first.
Yeah. And so this is where Major League Sports needs to have a real good think and sit down about how games are being called and how they're using technology to do it. because they have all this technology that I don't think they're using efficiently. And they have all of these interpretations of rules that are causing people to discuss officiating and not the game itself.
The also thing as well is that what I don't understand is that if you've got a camera feed that you can go to that is something about the refs or something like that, like if you had to go to the ref cam in an NHL game, in an NHL, NFL game, whatever, to explain that this is what happened, you go, and now to the NHL game sponsored by Pepsi or Deep Heat or something like that. And then a company, you don't have to worry, you don't have to worry about funding it because one, it's already there. You just have to go, can we use it? Two, you'll make money off of it.
Yeah.
Just
use the technology that is there for you. I'll tell you right now, remember we talked about the NWHL bubble last week?
Yeah.
So they have a broadcast feed with replay capabilities. They have replays on it all the time, but there's no replay available for the referees. And if they get a call wrong, they get it wrong, and they just have to talk about it. And if they get it wrong, then they're just embarrassed on national television, or on an international Twitch stream. They've embarrassed their referees because the replay clearly shows that they got the call wrong.
The thing is, for that, is that, okay, let's say, right, you've got 3 referees. We need to wrap up the podcast because we've gone a bit long. You've got 3 referees there. You've got multiple teams. It's a bubble, right? So you've got a coach who has an understanding of the rules, that is impartial. Like, you will have an impartial coach somewhere. So even if you haven't got a ref that turns up, you go, hey guys, look, to make the thing more fair, if your team isn't playing, as a ref or a coach or someone like that, you have to come and sit and watch this game and watch the laptop feed. And then if there's something questionable, you're just sat there on a laptop and go, watch the replay. And then when the ref comes over, you can turn around to the ref and go, ref, this is what I've seen.
Yep. I will always maintain that there's always a standby referee at every sporting event in case one of the referees gets injured.
Mm-hmm. A person you're paying to be there.
Exactly.
Might as well do something.
Exactly. Why are they sat on their ass doing nothing?
And
why are they not actively engaged in the officiating of the game?
End the podcast.
We wish
15 minutes ago.
We wish better luck next week to all the losers. There won't be too many this time. It's basically the NHL and the NBA.
Yeah.
The Leafs are the best team in the Canadian division.
Mm-hmm.
So we're all doing well there. Yeah. And we wish better luck next week to all the losers. We hope Gavin has a better week next week as well. And we'll see you next Friday for Super Bowl preview.
Super Bowl. It's the Super Bowl podcast. Super Bowl podcast. I got a theme tune and everything.
I was going to say, I feel like I should take that and make that the intro to next week's show.
You always say you're going to do that, but then you just don't.
We'll see.
Okay. Like, you're going to be that organized.
I'm saying goodbye now.
Bye.